Hello, I'm William Stewart, co-founder of Teleos. Welcome back to our verse-by-verse study on the book of Ephesians. This book is so important because it so efficiently gives us what we need to know about Christ, salvation, and the Christian life in 6 chapters, where every verse basically is power-packed and effectual in telling us about these key elements of Christianity. Indeed, if you know the book of Ephesians as one single book, you have gone a long way to knowing what we should know as believers. Colossians would be a similar type of book. Putting those two together, it's a marvelous study. So welcome. Glad you're here. We're in chapter 2 in an amazing verse about salvation. Remember, we've said before, the first 3 chapters focus on the foundations of our faith and salvation. In the first half of chapter 1 really were the characteristics of our salvation. And in chapter 2, it's in the first half, is really talking more about how to implement that salvation and what it means to us personally. So in verses 4 to 7, so far we've talked about the fact that God, who is rich in mercy, saved us, and he raised us together with Christ. As he was raised from the dead, we were raised from the dead and sat with him at the right hand of God the Father. As his work on the cross was completed, to those who came to faith, to salvation by faith alone, their work for salvation and what God has given them is also completed. So Christ now leads the church. We now serve the church. Verse 7 indicates that God did this to show in due time, otherwise when Christ comes again, the glory of all the saints with Christ and how rich his mercy is. Today we're in verse 8 and 9, several key verses related to salvation, pivotal. And the verses say, "For by grace you are saved through faith, and not of yourselves. It is a gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast." Okay, so that's what is this telling us? It really integrates well with other salvation verses that are key, such as Romans 3, 21 to 26, Romans 10, verse 9, and really in 1 Peter 4, chapter 1, verses 4 and 5, and later in the chapter, about verses 20 to 22, that our salvation is not of our own works. We know from Romans 3 specifically, verses 10 to 18, our works are not good enough to bring us to faith. They're wrong. What we do is wrong. We don't understand God. We don't seek God. We don't understand what good is by his definition. So out of his mercy then, as a righteous God, he demanded judgment, but out of mercy, he sent Christ to take that judgment of death that we deserved, so that when we believe by faith alone, we are saved. And this is really the short version of Romans 3, saying by grace, a free gift of God, unmerited favor, the word charis. We are saved by faith. Pistos is the general word for faith in Greek, the original language of the Bible. It's not something we did ourselves. It's purely a gift. The word here for gift is doron, which is the general word for gift in Greek, and in the New Testament generally means referring to our salvation. So it's not of works, it says in verse 9 very clearly. There's nothing we can do before salvation to work our way to salvation. And even after we're saved by faith, there's no work we can do to keep our salvation. God does it all. He brings us salvation. He causes us to believe. He's provided salvation. And afterwards, he causes us to persevere. 2 Timothy 1:7. So really, that no man should boast. And this correlates well with verse 7, that the glory of our salvation goes to God, as it should, because he's done it all. We've done nothing. There's really nothing in our coming to faith or anything that we've done for which we can boast. It's God's plan. God's work. Glory be to him. Glory be to Christ. And with our gratitude. What a wonderful gift. What a wonderful promise that we have that God's provided for us. Thanks for joining me today. We'll continue this amazing passage for one more verse, verse 10, which completes this part of salvation. And we'll move on to a specific aspect of salvation after this, in the second half of the passage, on reconciliation, part of Christ's work on the cross. Thanks for joining me today. I hope this video series is worthwhile. I look forward to seeing you next time.